The internet has many bomb throwers, but perhaps the most effective or dangerous of those bomb throwers is the author and academic and sometime entrepreneur David Weinberger. David is the co-author of the Clue Train Manifesto, a book that blew up the traditional advertising industry. He's the author of Everything is Miscellaneous, a book which blew up, I think, the traditional business of thinking. And now he's the author of an even more dangerous book, a book called Too Big to Know, which is out now in your bookstores and threatens perhaps to blow up the entire edifice of Western intellectual history and knowledge. David, welcome to TechCrunch TV.
Oh, thank you, Andrew.
Well, you've got a lot of books behind you, David, in your studio or in your library. Did you have to read all of those to understand how the internet was destroying the foundation of Western thought?
No, I actually don't consider myself to be a bomb thrower in the least. I think I'm just describing what's going on, what's apparent to people who are working in the fields or even just out on the web. So I don't know how to answer the question because I don't think I'm destroying anything at all. I'm just pointing at some of the things that are happening before our eyes.
Well, David, you've already destroyed my show, so
Mission accomplished.
Let me rephrase the question. The book is an extremely interesting, provocative one, as all your books are, Too Big to Know. What is too big to know? What are you saying in this book?
Well, the world is too big to know. That's the thing that's too big to know, which we've always known. So we've had in the West, which is what the book is about, Western idea of knowledge. We've had a set of strategies for dealing with that fact, and they're very efficient and effective strategies, but they've come at a price. The net is a medium, unlike any medium before it, that actually can scale to the size that knowledge itself needs. That means that knowledge changes, though, and that's what the book is about.
Knowledge changes. Could you explain that to mere mortals like myself?
Yeah, it changes in ways that I think we're all becoming quite familiar with. Some ways quite obvious. I mean, the fact that knowledge started out in the West as a way of filtering, of winnowing, of finding the stuff worth believing because it's true, and getting rid of the rest. That was essentially a reductive process. And one of the most obvious things that's been going on since the web began is that the old filters are down. They're at least not the only filters that we have. That changes not only who gets to declare what is knowledge and who gets to authenticate, it actually is changing the structure of it as well.
So the old world, David, is behind you. Those books that, elites decided what should go in them, and they published them, they controlled them. The internet, of course, is the reverse of that. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, except reverse would be, I think it's not quite the reverse. It's something actually more different than that, which includes the way things are now. So people will continue publishing books. Books are a highly valuable way of thinking. That's not going to go away, I don't think. But the book as the centerpiece of knowledge, as the very symbol of knowledge, I think is already on its way out. So it's not simply the reverse. It's, I think, a deeper change than that. We invented knowledge to fit the medium, and the medium was paper and books have certain wonderful properties and many weaknesses. The primary weakness is that they are obviously disconnected, although that doesn't become obvious till we have a highly connected medium. But as soon as we do, then footnotes seem like broken links, and you can't click on them. A footnote in a printed work, it doesn't work anymore. And that becomes really obvious to us. And so much of knowledge traditionally was based around the limitations of the paper medium, that this is a disconnected medium in which you try to settle issues, because once you publish something on paper, you can't really change it. So knowledge got the idea that it had to be that which never changed, was known forever, was eternal, was all that gets unsettled by a connected medium in which anybody can participate and in which much of the value of what's said is not the content of the book, but is the links between them.
David, if we were to imagine an alternative view of this world to the one behind you now, the old world of books, what would it be? Would it be an ever-changing Twitter screen?
No, I think it would be pretty much what we have and what we're developing. So Twitter serves some wonderful purposes, but it's not where all of knowledge is going to reside. All of knowledge is not going to reside in any particular form on the web. It's going to reside on the web, on the internet itself, in all of its different forms, including long-form writing when that's what is needed, but also tweets when that's what's needed, and everything in between, and in every 360 degrees of spherical dimensionality. It'll be everything. It'll be the entire ecosystem. Knowledge has moved into this new medium that lacks not just the limits of paper, in that it's connected, the web is connected, and it has much more capacity for content, but that it's also a highly innovative space in which people are already inventing new ways to know and communicate and to understand and to link and to illustrate and to argue and to deny all the activities of knowledge. That they're all going to be present on the net.
David, in this world you're describing, the world in Too Big to Know, will there still be such things as authorities, academics, experts, or will they all be swept away?
I doubt they'll be swept away. The world started out too big to know, and it is still way, way, way bigger than any individual can. We're just getting better at finding ways in which we can know this world together, socially, in lots of different forms. And so I expect that, I don't know, but I expect that academics will continue, that universities don't seem to be under particular threat yet by the internet. They're aided by the net in many ways, but the authority of universities seems to be maintained. We'll see if that continues. We absolutely need experts, people who know something deeply, some relatively small sort of brain-sized chunk of the world. We absolutely need experts, and we'll continue to have them because we need them and because people enjoy doing that and get compensated for doing that. We'll just have new types of experts in addition. And rather than locating knowledge in the brains of experts, I think it's already the case that it makes more sense to talk about knowledge living on the web itself. That knowledge, rather than living in brains and in books, now resides at the level of the network.
Could you explain that a little bit more? How does knowledge live on its own on the web?
Well, it doesn't live on its own in the sense that, for example, the people don't drop away. The web is still a human product and always will be. But I'll give you an example from Michael Nielsen, who has a wonderful book out called Reinventing Discovery about science as a network, just as Too Much to Know is about knowledge overall as a network. So he gives the example of the recent kerfuffle over faster than light neutrinos, a paper that was published a few months ago and caused a great deal of ruckus among physicists. This went on, it's still going on, but it's been going on for a couple months. A lot of papers written back and forth, responding, elaborating, a great deal of discussion among experts and among educated lay people and uneducated lay people and people explaining it. This has been occurring outside of all of the peer-reviewed journals where traditional knowledge would have gone. You want to filter it, peer review it, publish it, and make sure it's safe. That's not where all of this most exciting science is happening. It's happening at archive.org, which is a non-peer-reviewed pre-production site. Anybody can post a paper there, and papers get posted in response, and it's spread out across the web and a million links. That's where this discussion, that's where this knowledge is being generated right now. It lives not in any one of those papers, but in their connection.
David, I'm looking as we speak at your entry on Wikipedia, which I assume is an example of this peer review world that you're describing. And above your handsome face is a even handsomer face, that of Jimmy Wales, who we both...
Okay, I'll give you that. Fine.
Who we both know very well. And he's basically begging us to donate $5 to make sure that Wikipedia can survive. In this world that you're describing, do we need to develop coherent business models to guarantee that the peer-reviewed world media can survive?
Well, that's a really hard question. I don't know that we need to do that. Peer review still has a role, but peer review is too slow. It doesn't scale very well. If the discussion about faster than light neutrinos occurred only through peer-reviewed journals, even open access peer-reviewed journals, it would have been vastly slowed down. And we pay a price for that. So there's a benefit to the peer review, but there's also an enormous price. And if all knowledge has to go through peer review, then it gets slowed down to the speed of those processes. Nevertheless, peer review will continue. I'm sure that people will find some business models for supporting it, but I don't know that we want to define knowledge by the most plausible business models. In fact, what we're currently doing is wildly inventing new ways to know and to understand and to expand our knowledge and to engage in the sort of dispute that enlarges knowledge. Some of those new ways of doing this have business models. Some of them don't. Some of them have weak business models. We'll see which ones shake out. But I suspect that based upon what we've seen so far in the past 15 years, that some of the most exciting will have sort of very low hurdle, minimal business models.
David, finally, in under a minute, I'm not discouraging people from buying your book because I think they should. I think it's an important and a very engaging book. But what do you hope people will take away from your book? What is your core message in Too Big to Know?
We are undergoing a fundamental shift in the nature of knowledge that we haven't in the West seen for about 2,500 years, in which the very nature of knowledge is being challenged in a way that enables it to take advantage of the tremendous scale and linked nature of the new medium, which means that knowledge is becoming something that we have to actively engage in, something that we are learning is not a simple, uncontested result that we all are going to agree on. And in fact, knowledge, I think, is becoming not a content, but rather the linked structure of contested ideas. I think there are important business and political consequences of this, but it's something that I believe we really need to pay attention to.
Well, David, you said you weren't a bomb thrower, but I think you are, and that's why you're on the show, and that's why we all love you. David Weinberger, the author of the important Too Big to Know. Thank you so much for appearing on TechCrunch TV.
Oh, thank you, Andrew. It's been a pleasure.